Hey, what's up, Stringlings? Today I am super excited because I'm finally getting to do a rundown on this guy, the Arena 2000 floor modeler from Donner. Let's check it out. Donner put out the Arena 2000 as their entry into the floor modeler slash multi-effects category that has been sort of taken over. We've seen, of course, Kempers, we've seen the Quad Cortex, we've seen a number of Boss units in the thousands of dollars for some of these. And this little guy, I think, runs somewhere in the order of a couple of $100. It's really, really affordable. And they put this out late in 2022. I was not able to get one ahead of Black Friday, but I was able to get one just ahead of NAMM, which is going on right now as I speak. And unfortunately, I've been sick for a while, so I haven't been able to do any videos for pretty much most of April. I've been out of commission, and I'm still coughing. You'll hear throughout the video. But anyway, the point is, they finally sent me one, and they've had a hard time keeping them in stock because they are freaking cool. Okay. Quick rundown on what it is and what it isn't. So it's not a multi-effects unit in the traditional sense of just having a bunch of effects that you can switch on and off like a pedal board in a box. What it is a floor modeler, and that means that it has different sets of amp and cab simulators. And just give me 1 second here. I'm going to double check my stats. Literally so much going on that I have to keep referring back to the manual, but just a list of features, okay? So they're using digital modeling as opposed to impulse response captures for the cabinets, which is fine. Companies have been doing that for a very long time. I have a Behringer unit here that I bought, I think, around 2003. That does exactly that, and does a fairly decent job considering it's 20 years old. Once in a while I pull it into service just because sometimes I just want that combination, and it does a very good, very compact job. This is really the next generation of that process. There are 150 presets built in. That gives you 50 banks with 3 presets on each bank. That's why there are 3 controls. There are 80 amp models on here. 80. Everything from a Fender Twin all the way up to, you know, the EVH and the Bogner and the really high gain amps. There are 50 cabinet IR models. I think they're actually digital models. But where this one differs, and this is key, there are 50 slots to load your own IRs onto this thing. Okay, so you can go and actually dump IRs onto this thing for whatever cabinets you like. I haven't tried this yet. I am going to, because it is USB connected. That means I can drop my vintage 30s, I can drop my DV77s, which means I can drop the None More Black model on here, which means I can do a whole bunch of really cool extra stuff with the things that are on here. 278 effects built into this unit, and all interfaced in a way that's very, very easy to edit. You can move the effects blocks around so you can change your effect order. It does things that multi-$1,000 units sometimes struggle to do, and it does it in a very compact and affordable package. Excuse me. So just to run down the controls, of course, we've got the switches. This is the up and down control, rocker switch, or rocker pedal rather, that does what a rocker pedal always does on these units, which is volume, expression, and potentially wah. The controls for the individual effects are here, and it's a very, very easy interface to use, which I'll show you in the demo. The case itself is metal, the pedal is metal, the switches are metal. Yes, the knobs are plastic, the touchscreen is very sensitive. And we have a number of really cool features on the back as well. It has a full on-off switch. This is a 9-volt center negative pin, as you would expect on a pedal, but it runs on only 9 volts, but it does have a 500 milliamp draw. So if you're going to put this on a board, make sure that you're coming off a 900 milliamp lead. We've got 2 stereo XLR outs, which is insane. right? A ground lift switch, USB, and headphone jack. Now they did use a 1/8 inch headphone jack. Not my preference. I prefer a bigger stereo jack, but that's fine. And then an auxiliary in, so you can plug this in, use it as a headphone amp, plug your media player in there, and play along to songs as you're learning them. That's crazy, right? Also, an extra port for an additional expression pedal, right? 2 line outs for stereo outs, so you can go to your stage rig and to front of house. Excuse me. The input jack, of course, and then, of course, it's MIDI controllable, right? So of course, so you also have MIDI control on this. It is an insane amount of control in this little unit. Does it sound exactly as good as a Quad Cortex? No, Quad Cortex is, what, $4,000? And this is $250? I mean, you're not going to get that. But if you're looking for a way to get into floor modelers, this is a fantastic start. I'm going to plug this thing in. We're going to come down to the desktop and we're going to check it out. Okay, so I've got this set up down on the desktop. There is the Arena 2000. I am playing on the Donner DMT 100 today. Very, very versatile and excellent metal guitar. Works for a lot of contexts, actually. Slightly hotter output pickups than the sort of vintage models, and as a result, I'm actually taking the tone control down slightly because these tend to run a little bit sparkly, so they be a little bit bright. So I'm just going to take that down a bit so it's not so stabby. Just quick overview of the pedal unit itself. As you can see down here, it's got 3 switches. We did all of this overview already, but it's got 3 switches and the rocker pedal that can act as a volume or an expression pedal, or even a wah-wah pedal if you wanted to set it up. Those instructions are, of course, in the instructions, but we're going to do some tutorials on this later on, depending on how much interest people have in going forward with this thing. I hope they get a lot of interest out of it because, to be honest, it's a really, really cool pedal. We're not using this as an effects pedal, so we are going directly into Reaper, and I'm not using any amp sims or anything on Reaper itself. So this is from the pedals amp sim directly into the recording software. Which may be an advantage in some cases. If you want to go live off the floor and you want to switch your pedals, sometimes it's better to not have to do multi-channel tracking with stopping and starting and recording separate parts. You can just hit the switch and change your tone. So the way this is laid out is actually pretty cool. This control here changes the bank and everything else, as of course do these switches, right? So if I turn that, you see it'll go to 1B and then 1C. I hope you can see it. I know the reflection of the light is a little bit weird sometimes down on the desktop, but that does the same thing. So it switches the channels, and then we go to the next bank. So each bank has 3 patches to it, and each of those settings can be set up any way you want them to be. They have set this up sort of generically as being kind of a clean, dirty, and lead sound. That's not always, but that's most of the cases seem to be that way. And so when we're playing through it, you have the opportunity, of course, to play live. You can switch on the fly, and you can program all of these things simply by using the store functions. Today I'm not going to be looking at the loop or the drum machine. It does have a looper and a drum machine built in. It also has a ton of effects, as we discussed. So looking at the very first patch here, it just says hi there. If I tap the amp key, you can see it is a Fender Twin. If I tap the cab, that gives us a Fender Deluxe 112. That's the cabinet. And then if I look at the reverb, right now it's set on a hall reverb. I can use this control to change the type of reverb, and I can use these controls to change the parameters of the reverb itself. I can also do this via the app. Okay, so there is a phone app for iPhone and Android that can control all of these things. You can do it straight from the app. It works on Bluetooth. It's actually a very cool feature, and actually kind of handy if you don't want to be switching channels a lot. You can simply set it on your phone, do the next song, set it on your phone, do the next song. very cool that way. Of course, you could put a wah-wah pedal in front of it. You can also turn off the amp and cab sections if you just want to use it as an effects pedal. It works great as a multi-effects pedal. My preference right now is just to show you, because what everybody's interested in these days is cab sims, amp and cab sims. So we tap the home button, that will take us back to our original display. The effects run from left to right, as you can see. So it goes through your front end and your drives, into the amp, into the cabinet, and then through your modulation and time-based effects, your EQs, all of that kind of stuff. Excuse me. The one thing that I will quickly note is that normally on pedals, the input and output run right to left, and on this one they've run the opposite way. So this is actually the output, and I'm using the left mono output and the single input. Of course, you do have an XLR volume as well as a headphone volume if you're to play with this through your headphones. So it has a ton of control built into it, and it's really a surprising amount of hardware kind of compacted into this one little unit. It is metal. This is all metal. This is metal. The knobs, of course, are plastic, but you know, most knobs are. But this is metal. The chassis itself is metal. I have not taken the protective film off as yet, because I haven't. that's the only reason it's still on there. So that's what this little green tab is. It's just the protective film. I just haven't taken it off yet. So here is the very first clean tone. This is your Fender Twin. Is it a Twin? Double check. Yeah, Fender Twin. Okay, into a 112. Sounds very, very cool. If we put that same amp through, in this case, a Deluxe Reverb 112, you can hear a distinct difference between those two impulse responses. Go to a Tweed 108, nice. Ooh, Prince, nice. Bassman. And then straight to a Marshall, nice. Okay, so, excuse me. You can see they've done a lot of homework to get all these cab sims, all these IRs. I don't know if they're full impulse responses or if they're simulators, but they're very close. Switching to the delay no more setting, this is slightly different. I believe they're using AC30 into a Vox 212, and they've added, as you can see here, delay and reverb. Very fast delay. Let's take a look at the delay section here. Come here, you. There we go. So the delay section, this will give us the opportunity. You can change your speed and your level here as well. Yeah. You have the time? Yeah. So there's the time control. Turn that mix down a little bit. Oops, there we go. So now we can hear. So you can see how intuitive and relatively easy to change the patches. Now I haven't stored it, so if I switch out and I come back, it's back to where it was before. The warm tube sound here, this is a JCM 800, Marshall JCM 800 into a 1960s 412 Marshall. should be pretty crunchy, right? It has a little bit of reverb on it too. And all you have to do is double tap that reverb and it'll turn it off. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Like that is a really good Marshall-y sound. Who else plays that? Just good sound. Sorry, that changes the delay. So as we're kind of scrolling through these, I'm not going to do a bunch of them, but when it says fruit, they're talking about an orange. Okay. So obviously they didn't go through the steps, and this is one of the reasons probably the budget is kept as low as it is. So they're not going to say that it's an orange because that requires a license, but it sounds like a clean channel on an orange. All right. If I tap the amp, we'll see. Come on, amp. There we go. It says Apple Rock Channel 2. Look over here, the gain is at 11. It just sounds really good. It is a really solid tone. Clicking through the next one, Fruit Drive. So here we're on the drive channel of an orange. Let's just take a look at the amp just to see. Apple Rock 100 watt channel 2. Gotta love that. Switch Fruit Crunch. Same thing. Very nice. You know, and we can keep going, you know, through all of these. Sorry, that's going to change the amp. There we go. Right, so we've got, what is this? A Marshall with a fuzz? Oh, Vox, okay. So there's a Vox, it says fuzz. That's pretty fuzzy. Go back here to the home. You can see there's the drive. Okay, and they've added a noise gate. So that's the noise gate, EQ, FXB. So these little patch units, and really, really nice kind of fuzzy Vox tone. Turn off the delay. That's a really good, really passable fuzz tone, I have to say. That's really good. Really, really good. Okay, and then we get into, you know, some of the weirder effects. This one has some compression. FXB, that's a modulation. You can hear it here. Now we get into that a little bit more higher gain distortion. You know, I'm not a blues player, so I don't play a lot of these kind of crunch distortions, but what I do find is that as you scroll through here, there's like so much, oops, there's the tuner. Go back. There we go. There's just so much going on here. It's really, really, you can spend a lot of time just playing with these. And of course you can make all these adjustments and store whatever changes you want as you go. This one here is just marked funk. Normally probably single coils or Punk Boy. That's good. I like it. The rocker. So I'm always curious when companies say the rocker. Yep, JVM and 412, right? What could possibly go wrong? So that's got FXA and no drive. So what if I added a TS-808? Oh, that's... Take the tone down. Right, and all we have to do is tap on some noise gate, right? That's excuse me. That's a really, really, really solid tone. And not a lot of complaints. You could say that it doesn't have the real roundness of things, but at the same time, you can take this amp, and you could put it into an IR in your recording software as well, right? So you could put a separate IR with the Eminence DV77 set that Christian Kola did for Eminence. You could do the Vintage 30 set that Glenn Fricker was giving away, or literally any cab plugin that you have. CCOW has a ton of them. Really, really worth checking out, and I am going to definitely 100% play with these amps and effects going into one of those IR setups, because I really want to hear the difference between what a captured IR sounds like versus a cab sim IR. But I think we're in for a ton of fun playing with this guy. I'm going to go and just show you what happens way down here in the 50s with some of these higher, really kind of high gain. Okay, so this amp here is a Bogner Shiva, right? And it's they put the HM2 in front of it, right? Into this, I know it says Mexa. It's a Mesa 412, right? Surprise of the day for me is that they have an HM2 on this unit. That is very, very cool. Yeah, look at this. Tube Drive Ecstasy, P2, Big Muff. They got a Big Muff? Oh my god. Sunface, OCD, Rat. Wow. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff on here, guys, to play with. Take the reverb and delay off. I can't even scratch the surface on here. Like, that's really grindy, really, really chainsaw sounding. Some of these clean tones. Just so many things going on. It's almost like a ring mod. It's very, very trippy. Savage. Nice. I just did that. Like so many. I think the takeaway here is when you're looking through, you know, a simulator like this, a floor modeler like this, you've really got to, you can start with what's here. Absolutely 100% start with what's here, but make sure you get the list of whatever you can find, because just the amp and cab selections alone are, just the amp and cab selections alone with nothing else are absolutely mind-blowing. And I think this is going to require a little bit more digging on my part, because I've been into this thing for a couple of weeks now, and I'm just scratching the surface. I haven't even started doing my own presets because I've been working on some other projects, but this is going into circulation, 100% going into circulation on my rig. And we're going to just step back for a sec and do a quick recap. So that is the Arena 2000 from Donner. Sometimes I call it the Arena 2K. I've seen it mentioned that way in reviews elsewhere. Absolutely brilliant little unit. If you haven't got one or you haven't seen one around, go and pick one up. I've included my affiliate links in the description below. Please remember that if you buy directly from Donner, it's much easier to get warranties and replacements, and Donner is excellent for that. Plus, I'm giving you up to 15% off everything on both the Canadian and US stores with my coupon code, which is also listed down below. So don't forget that you can take advantage of that and get a little extra cash off to get yourself started. Highly recommended. And as I mentioned before, I am coming back to do some tutorials because I'm going to figure out some of these functions kind of one at a time, and I want to show you guys how to do some of this stuff with this unit. In particular, I want to try loading some impulse responses on here and including those as part of the feature package on this unit so that it becomes just slightly more in line with my workflow. Yeah, overall, you cannot go wrong with with this purchase. You do have to put in a little bit of work with your instruments, with your rigs, with whatever it is you're doing. Get the tones dialed in the way you want them. Hit store, keep them there. There is of course a complete factory reset as well. If you find you get into the weeds a little bit, you can just start over. But that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember to like and subscribe. Don't forget to keep an eye out for a certain upcoming giveaway that I've got going on. As of this video, it's going to be a big one, especially for those of you in Canada. But this is not part of the giveaway. So yeah, please remember, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Do consider becoming a member of the channel because those little perks help me to keep pushing out this content, even if I'm taking a couple of weeks off to recover. So that's all for today. Thanks very much for hanging out with me, and I will see you again really soon.